What if I told you, you don't need a frame, command hooks, or even a backdrop stand to make a full balloon garland that actually stays up? In this video, I'm building a large garland right on the wall just using tape and a few unexpected tricks. It might look simple, but there's one thing I did differently that made all the difference. So stick around and let me show you. As a bonus, I will teach you how to attach floral to any balloon garland without popping a single balloon. Let's start with the colors. I've chosen a soft, romantic palette featuring white sand, cameo, and lace. Delicate tones that bring an airy and elegant feel. Now let's dive into one of my go-to techniques for creating full, balanced garlands, the 6 balloon clusters featuring one oversized balloon. First, inflate one large 18-inch balloon and one standard 12-inch balloon. Push down to round out the balloons. This gives it a professional look. Cross the necks like an X, wrap twice and tie them together. This creates our first pair. Now inflate 2 standard 12-inch balloons and repeat the steps. We round out the balloons by not overinflating them. The sizes of the 12-inch balloons can vary slightly for a more organic look. Twist the 2 pairs together with the 18-inch balloons at the center. We now have our first quad. Inflate 2 more standard 12-inch balloons and repeat the steps. 5 12-inch balloons are wrapped around one 18-inch balloon to create structure while adding fullness and a lush shape to the garland. Now take the last pair and twist it together with the quad. This creates a cluster of 6 balloons. These clusters are the base of your garland. We need a total of 3 of these types of clusters. As I work my way up the garland, I start blending in smaller clusters to create a more organic flow and add dimension. This is a cluster of 6 12-inch standard size balloons, and I used one of these clusters in the garland. Next, I am going to make the 5-inch mini clusters. First, inflate 2 5-inch balloons to about 3.5 inches or what you see on the screen. They don't need to be exact. Tie the balloons together to create a pair. And twist the 2 pairs together to make your first 5-inch mini cluster. For the second color, I made 3 clusters that consists of one large 18-inch balloon and 5 12-inch balloons. Stick around until the end. That's when I show you the key detail that brings this entire balloon garland wall together. And if you're enjoying this video so far, don't forget to subscribe and like for more future tutorials just like this. Now let's make second color mini cluster of 3 5-inch balloons. Now we're on to the last color. For this garland I created one cluster that consists of one large 18-inch balloon and 5 standard 12-inch balloons. If you found this helpful, my playlist is full of videos just like this packed with next level techniques to elevate your event decor. Click link in upper right corner. Next we will need one cluster of 6 balloons, but these 12-inch balloons will all be all different sizes. The final cluster is made up of 4 12-inch balloons, each inflated to about 6 inches. This smaller size helps taper the garland neatly at the top. For the last color, there will 3 mini 5-inch clusters. Now that all the clusters are ready, let's move on and show you how to attach them to the wall. One of the most common questions I get is, how do you attach a balloon garland to the wall without damaging paint or leaving marks? Let me show you exactly how I do it using painter's tape. First, place 3 strips of painter's tape on the wall. You don't want to make this too big because it will be harder to cover up with the garland. Then place a strip of duct tape and a 260 balloon directly on the painter's tape. We will secure the 260 balloon with the H-shape method. This technique will hold up the balloon garland with no problem. Let me know in the comment below if you know any other techniques that would work without damaging the paint. I love to learn and share with my audience. Tie the 260 into a loop. For this balloon garland I will be using 3 of these anchor points. I will be positioning the anchor points in the shape of my garland, one at the top, middle, and lower half. Now let's start building our garland and adding those clusters. We will construct the garland from the ground up. Attach the first base cluster by simply stretching the 260 balloon around one of the cluster balloons. We will be attaching the clusters together using a lot of 260 balloons. They are the best, much better than rubber bands. Take the next cluster and wrap the 260 around a balloon. At the base, I like to add 2 bigger clusters to give it a fuller, more balanced look. Let's attach our first 2 clusters together using 260 balloons. Next, I'll position a cluster midway up the garland to emphasize the curve and establish a visual focal point. Now continue building the garland by attaching more clusters with 260 balloons. Pro tip: tilt some clusters inward or outward to break up the symmetry and a depth. Rotating clusters or slightly changing direction makes the garland look more eye-catching. When one of the clusters reach the next anchor point, simply attach it to the closest balloon. For the middle section, let's create a little curve by placing the cluster slightly right or left depending on your garland. This will help create a S-curve for visual appeal. This S-curve creates a soft, flowy cascading look. Pro tip: Step back as you go and check the silhouette and ask yourself, does it flow naturally? Making sure it is not a straight line. Once you've reached the top, I like to create a tail or tapered end by adding smaller clusters to create a light and airy top. For the top cluster, I am using a quad which consists of 4 balloons inflated smaller than the rest of the garland for that tapered look. Here is the spine as curved. For extra stability, I like to add water balloon weights to the base. Add water weight by placing it in between the clusters. Once the main clusters are up, it's time to fill the gaps with our mini 5-inch quad balloons. Attach the mini cluster using 260 balloons. This step brings everything together, filling in the gaps and creating visual harmony. Step back and scan your garland from a few feet away. Look for empty pockets or areas that feels flat. Then add in mini clusters. This is what adds dimension and gives your garland that lush high-end organic feel. While adding florals is optional, I consider it a must. They add that elevated touch that takes your garland and your entire event to the next level. Pro tip: always place the stem inside of a balloon, so the sharp parts will not pop your garland. Secure to the garland by wrapping the 260 around a balloon. Curious how I make my garlands look full without using extra balloons? Check out my other videos to see the trick in action. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one.